Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we have another music discussion. Gonna try to do a bit more of these. Maybe not, as much as I do video game stuff. Obviously not, because this is a video game channel. But I like to throw this in every now and then, and just kind of as a palate cleanser, sort of a reset, things like that. But today we're going to be talking about another great '90s band, late '90s. Early 2000 band that is near and dear to my heart. The last video I did like this was Marilyn Manson. This video is going to be Garbage, and specifically the new album, Not Your Kind of People. And as you can see here, I have the deluxe edition. That's got the red cover instead of the sort of off-white cream cover. And if I had to tell you guys what one to pick up, definitely go pick up this one. At Best Buy, the regular edition was $9 and this was $12, so it was a no-brainer to buy the deluxe edition. And we'll talk about the reason why to buy the deluxe edition here in a minute. But like the Marilyn Manson video, I'm going to sort of take you through my history with the band and sort of talk about each of their albums leading up to this one, and then get into the new album. So my history started with the band a lot like everyone's history back in the mid-90s when MTV was at its peak, and I'm really nostalgic for that era because there's just a great thing about putting on MTV in the afternoons when you got home from school and they were just playing videos, and you would be sort of subjected to so many different musics that you wouldn't normally listen to. So I think in a lot of ways with MTV's demise as a music channel, we really kind of lost something really kind of awesome. It was kind of the death of the rock star in a way, because you don't get to see these artists as much on the screen anymore. But anyway, I remember very clearly staying up late one night to watch, I can't remember if it was 120 Minutes or if it was, I don't think it was Headbangers Ball, but one of the sort of the late night MTV video shows where they show like the risque stuff, so to speak. And I remember very clearly seeing the video for Only Happy When It Rains, and immediately the visuals of the video and the sounds of the band just drew me right in, and the sheer fact that the band was fronted by none other than Shirley Manson, who I think is like the sexiest woman in rock. She is just, I mean, if you could bottle her and sell it, it would sell like crazy, because she just oozes sex. And being a young kid at that time, seeing her in that video was just sort of an eye-opening experience, and fueled an unrequited love affair for years to come. But I remember seeing that video and hearing that song and just being like, I gotta go get this CD. And the next time I went out to the mall, I went out and got it, and the first album, and just fell in love with that band. The entirety of the sound. Just I'm really a sucker for like rock bands that mix like electronic music into into the songs. Not so much that it overpowers the music. There's some bands out there that can definitely pull that off, like Radiohead, but just kind of use like the electronic stuff as like shading for the music, which is partly why I think Mechanical Animals is my favorite Marilyn Manson album. It's just I really dig that that sound, and that's really kind of indicative of the late '90s and the early 2000s. I think a lot of bands were experimenting with technology. You had of course Radiohead doing their thing. You had Grandaddy, who just reformed. Yes. Doing the software slump, and then of course you had the Flaming Lips starting to experiment with their stuff as well, and I just really fell in love with that sound. And what really sealed the deal for me on Garbage was when they put out the Stupid Girl video, and I think that's really when things sort of blew up for them, because it was just such a perfect song and a perfect video, and just Shirley Manson in that dress in that video is just ridiculous. And then 2 years kind of passed, and then we got version 2.0, and I will go ahead and say this right now, version 2.0 is my favorite Garbage album, even though it is probably the worst reviewed out of all 5 of their albums. And the reason why it's the worst reviewed is because basically it took the formula of the first album and almost carbon copied it for the second album. You can almost do a one-to-one switch for the songs and have the same sort of vibe. It's just, it's a bigger, kind of meatier, more slick version of the first album. But with songs like Special and When I Grow Up, you know, it's hard, especially Push It, which supposedly the story goes with Push It. It has that little line in it, "Don't worry, baby," you know, which is gleaned from a Beach Boys song. And I guess supposedly when the band sent, like, I don't know, like a CD or like a tape or something of it to Brian Wilson to get it approved to use that sample, or not, it's not really a sample, it's they just used the line and the melody from the song "Don't Worry, Baby." Supposedly Brian Wilson wrote back and said he loved the song so much he wanted to keep that recording at his house, and of course the band said yes. But kind of an interesting story. You wouldn't think Brian Wilson would be in the Garbage, but he was. But man, that album will always just, it's one of those albums that when you listen to it, you remember the time and the place you were when you first got it. And that song Special, I mean, the word special is kind of used in an ironic sense in the song, but it really is something special, to sort of coin a phrase there. Man, it was just such a barn burner of an album, and I loved it, but the reviewers hated it. But at the same time, I really like Star Trek V, and that's one of the worst reviewed Star Trek movies out there, so maybe I just like sort of underdog, underappreciated things, but yeah. So then the band kind of went on one of their many sort of hiatuses. I think the time between, if I remember correctly, the time between version 2.0 and Beautiful was like 3 to 4 years. And we finally got Beautiful, you know, the sound had kind of changed, you know, like the rock bands of the late 90s have sort of given away to a lot of different styles of music in the early 2000s. Boy bands were back in business. And, you know, Britney Spears was shaking her thing all over the place. And in some ways, when Garbage came back, they sounded kind of out of place, but at the same time, it sounded, you know, just right, you know. Whereas the first 2 albums kind of sounded almost carbon copies of each other. Beautiful really kind of went into a lot of different directions and some different musical styles in some ways. And, you know, when I first got the album, I didn't really care for it as much as I liked the other ones. You know, they started to lighten up the sound a little bit in places, and some songs like "Go Baby Go" were a little, or Cherry Lips, "Go Baby Go" was a little silly, you know. And but the more I listened to it, the more it grew on me, and now it's one of my favorite albums. But when I first heard the song "Androgyny," I wasn't too sold on it. I was like, oh, this is good, but it's not as good as the older stuff. You know how you kind of grow up with a band, you're like, oh, they're never going to be as good as they were, you know. But so I kind of had that with Garbage then. And then that was when they took a sort of a big hiatus, because that was 2001. I think the next album didn't come out until 2005, and that was Bleed Like Me, and that was a return to the more aggressive rock sounds after the more production-heavy, Beautiful. They went back to a more raw sound on Bleed Like Me. And the song Metal Heart is probably one of my all-time favorite Garbage songs out there. I don't know what it is. It's such a rocking, kick-you-in-the-face song that I just... Well, the first time I heard it, I had to, you know, hit it, you know, skip it back and listen to it again, and then skip it back and listen to it again. And just thinking about that song, I didn't even talk about, like, some of the songs that they released just, you know, out of the blue. Like on William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, which is a fantastic movie, by the way. Baz Luhrmann is great. Can't wait for his Great Gatsby coming up here in December. But they used Number One Crush for that. And that is just, like, that song, you know, it's just such a nasty-sounding song. And I remember, you know, listening to that over many a breakup you know, because when you're never more in love with someone than right after they break up with you. It's kind of a weird thing, and I just remember being this angsty teenager listening to Number One Crush after this girl broke up with me, and it was just, I mean, it didn't really get me through it. It kind of drug it out a bit, but at the same time, it was like, you know, that's just how you felt at that time. The World Is Not Enough from the James Bond movie of the same name is just another sort of great song that I really enjoy. It really seemed like for a while there, Garbage was just everywhere, and while I loved it, because I got to see Shirley Manson all over the place, it was just, you know, it's kind of crazy to think back, you know, just how much, you know, how many soundtracks they were on, and especially how many videos they had for version 2.0 itself. It was pretty a crazy time. But here we go. Now the new album, Not Your Kind of People. After 7 years, the guys and gals finally got back together to record another album. And it's kind of, you know, easy to see why these guys take such a long time between albums. I mean, the three guys in the band, one of which is Butch Vig of Nirvana Nevermind fame, they're all producers. So they all got a day job. And Shirley Manson's been acting and doing all these other things. So, you know, they got a lot going on. So, but I really love the fact that every 5 years or so, they just get back together and release an album and go on a tour. And I really do want to go see them in tour. You know, I think this is going to be my year of catching up on acts that I never saw, never got to see before. Like I went and saw Marilyn Manson in Pittsburgh earlier in the month here, and that was a fantastic show. So maybe I'll go check out Garbage too, and relive my youth. But this album, when I first put it in, much like Beautiful, it's not an immediate album. It's not going to grab you right away. When I was really listening to it, I kind of got this sense of disappointment over me, because I was really hoping for some kind of version 2.0, Bleed Like Me, sort of wild stomper album. And that's not really where they're at right now. You know, they're kind of, to put it mildly, or not mildly, to put it nicely, they're getting older, you know. I think the median age of the band is like 43. So, you can't really go back to the 90s and have that kind of energy anymore. That being said, there are some fantastic, burning tracks on here, but it doesn't have the raucous energy of Bleed Like Me, especially. But one of the interesting things about this album is that they really kind of almost adopt a more shoegaze style, especially with a song like Felt. That's on this album. The first time I heard it, I felt like I was being transported to some kind of lost My Bloody Valentine song, and it really, I love the shoegaze, sort of the quick flash in the pan that shoegaze was. I really do enjoy a lot of shoegaze bands, and I really need to get more into that scene. But some of the great songs on here, why not? Let's get into it. Felt, like I said. I Hate Love, which is the song right after Felt, feels like an old school Garbage song, and that's one of the ones that I think really has that sort of old school Garbage, just kick you in the face energy. Like I said, you should buy the deluxe edition, and here's the reason why. Because if you just buy the normal version, you're only going to get 11 tracks, and it ends on Beloved Freak, which is a nice way to end the album. But if you buy the deluxe edition, you get 4 more tracks added onto it. And those 4 tracks are really, for me, some of the highlights of the album, which is crazy when you think about it, because you never think that like bonus songs on an album are that great. Like, I remember listening to A Weekend in the City by Block Party, which is another one of those great all-time albums. And the album has a story to it, and as you move through the album, you move through the story, and it gets to that last song, and it's just like everything wraps up so perfectly. And then the next second later, you have Block Party songs, 2 singles that predate Silent Alarm, which is the album before it, and it just kind of ruins that energy at the end of the album. Like, you're just at the end of the album, and you're like, oh man, that was great, and all of a sudden this old school song starts playing, which they're great songs. Don't get me wrong, they're great songs, but at the same time, it kind of throws things off. Because when you listen to an album in completion, you want that satisfaction of finishing the album. Like, when I listen to The Hazards of Love by the Decemberists, and if you haven't heard that album, listen to it. You have to listen to it in its entirety. you just feel like exhausted and amazed at the end of it, and that's how I want things. So it's interesting to say that the 4 bonus tracks on this album are some of the highlights of it. And like I said, you know how bonus tracks usually kill the finishing of the album. In a lot of ways, this just kind of enhances it, because, you know, Beautiful Freak, which was the ending of the album and is a great ending to the album, is now just kind of another song you go towards the end. And while this album is not a concept album, it doesn't have a storyline through it, there is a flow to albums. And like when I make mix CDs for people, it's always a terrible, awful thing for me, because I have to make a flow to the album, and I will go through like 4 or 5 or 6 CDs before I finally get down that mix of songs that I want to present this person with. And so when I listen to an album, I really listen to how all the songs flow with each other, and I think it's really important. And I think it's something we're going to lose. Definitely going to lose it in this digital age. But when you move through Beloved Freak and then you move into these other songs, it just feels like a continuation of the album, and it's not. It doesn't take you out of it. It doesn't. You're not like, oh, here's the bonus tracks. It just feels like these were always meant to be part of the album. And so if you definitely go out and buy this, definitely get this version with the red cover, because you will want The One, you will want Bright Tonight, you will want Show Me. What Girls Are Made Of is a good song, but it's not as great as those other 3. But yeah, guys, man, I'm so glad that Garbage is back. They're one of my favorite all-time bands. And while, here's my thing. Okay, you want to know, should I go out and buy this album? If you liked Garbage at any time in the past, I would say this album's a no-brainer. If you're new to Garbage, I would say, you know, I'll put some links to some of their older songs down below. Check some of the older songs out. Check out the new video for Blood for Poppies and see if it's, you know, your kind of stuff. Because, you know, I really think that this Garbage is one of those bands that from album to album they don't really change their sound, and in some bands I really like them to pursue new things with each album, expand their boundaries. Some bands I like their sound so much I just want them to have that same sound album to album and just write new songs in that sound. And Garbage is one of those bands where I'm just so in love with their sound that I don't really want them to do like an acoustic album. Well, maybe I would want them to do an acoustic album. That'd be kind of cool. But I don't want them to like start doing like, I don't know, trip hop or something like that. I don't know. But leave trip hop to Portishead. They got it mastered. But anyway, yeah. So that is it, guys. So Garbage. I would say this is a great album if you like 90s alternative rock. If it's not 90s alternative rock is not your scene, listen to some songs before you delve into it. But for you guys that like 90s alternative rock, this is a no-brainer. If you like Garbage, no-brainer. Yeah, I'm really happy with this album. So that's it for this music discussion. Next up, I just bought today the new Sigur Rós album. Let's see, Valtari. I think that's how it's pronounced. Got any Icelandic people out there? Please correct me. My Icelandic is terrible, and I'm not even going to try to say the titles of the songs on the back, but really looking forward to this. This is another one of those bands that if you haven't listened to Sigur Rós, you really should, because they're amazing. But, alright. Another music discussion video down, so probably the only person that'll watch this and like it is Leo Castell, so this one was for you, buddy. So, alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time, which I will do some video game stuff. How interesting to do a video game videos on a video game channel, huh? Urgh.